Here's something that might seem counterintuitive. Your players do not want their heist to go right. So, welcome back to part 3 of my guide on how to run heist adventure arcs in RPGs. My name is William Henry. Let's actually start out this time with the campaign journal side of things. Let's start out with the climax of my previous game. Then I'm going to show you how you can kind of pull off something similar. Probably not identical, of course, but similar. Get that kind of panicked effect of the climax. So, my group had been traveling with an NPC named Clancy from day 1 of the campaign. He'd been there the entire time, and really there's no two ways about it. Clancy was a hoarder. He was mostly just used whenever one of the players were absent. He would fill in a slot, but for the most part, between any time he was needed, he was just assumed to be collecting junk. Just anything he could get his hands on and storing them in his room. Sometimes they had to shake him upside down to get him through security and stuff. He just grabbed everything he possibly could. And Clancy was well known for replacing his gear on a frequent basis. It was not the first time that Clancy had brought back cool and unique looking weapons. So during the heist adventure, Clancy brought back this strange-looking sword, and the players were not suspicious. Clancy had brought back all sorts of weird stuff, and nothing bad had happened. But they overlooked, of course, they didn't investigate the sword at all. They did not discover that the sword was possessed, and the demon that was in the sword quickly possessed Clancy. So, therefore, Clancy, the NPC who had been there with them the entire game and had functionally acted as a player character when there weren't players around, Clancy was the traitor. And of course he wasn't caught, because this was something the players took for granted, that Clancy was with them and Clancy was one of the good guys. So, Clancy ratted out the players to a sorcerer who was working for the planetary governor. The governor excused himself partway through the party, and he went outside and entered an unmarked black van. The sniper was watching this, a little confused as to what was going on, but soon Governor Romulus emerged out of the van, fully armed, armored, and leading a troop of elite soldiers to raid the estate, catch the player characters, and execute them. The sniper attempted to stop this. He attempted to gun down the soldiers, but he quickly noticed that there was another sniper trained on his position, and before he could get shot out, he had to hit the dirt. So, my players were panicking. Soldiers were headed to all of their known positions, yet they adapted very quickly. They finished grabbing the documents, and they each had to make their own exit. Teddy, the sniper, working with an NPC partner he was with, gunned down the sniper, and then sent his NPC down to delay the soldiers, because a group of the soldiers were headed up the stairs to reach his vantage point. They already knew where he was. And while he was doing that, Teddy tried to make a distraction. During the investigation, the players had discovered that much of the entertainment for the Unity Ball were these exotic predatory beasts from all over the sector that were being brought in cages to be kind of oohed and awed at by all of the nobility. Several of the players had actually snuck into the Unity Ball in those cages, so they already knew they were there. So, Teddy shot the locks out of each cage with his sniper rifle, and all of a sudden the party was being swarmed by hyper-aggressive beasts who were attacking nobles, and especially attacking all the soldiers that were swarming inside. So, after finishing that, Teddy went down, he helped his NPC clear the building, and they booked it. They got away as quickly as they could. All the players on the inside of the estate, which was most of them, and a fair number of NPC allies were with them. They all had to make separate exits, mostly in two groups. The first was with Marcellus, the driver. They quickly stole a military vehicle that they had previously learned was stored in the garage. They didn't have any purpose for that information going into the heist, but as soon as they realized that they were going to need to get away quick, they were like, wait, military vehicle in the garage, let's go get it. So they got there, they hotwired it, they went out guns blazing right through the fence and just shot up anyone who was in their way. A bunch of NPCs were across the street. A bunch of their NPC allies were there across the street, kind of in a getaway van slash kind of the stereotypical across the street, everyone's got communication devices. They had that kind of going on. And a bunch of military vehicles swarmed in on their positions. They had to make a quick getaway. So that left one party still inside without a getaway vehicle. That group, however, took advantage of all of the chaos caused by the beasts and by the players shooting their way out in the giant military vehicle, and they got away pretty sneakily. They just found a fence nearby and they just cut through it. They got away with relatively little fuss, actually. And then they very quickly got They very quickly managed to find their way to a darkened river bank and sneak away unmolested, and they got away too. So all in all, everything went wrong, but it was a session that my players talked about for months. It was the highlight of the campaign. No one's quite sure in our group if this session was the best one in the campaign or if the aftermath session was the best one in the campaign. So my top 2 sessions I have ever run, and they just went super, super well. And part of the reason for that is the players liked that things went wrong. They had fun because things went wrong. And part of that is because perhaps the defining staple of the heist genre is the moment when everything goes wrong. So, as we discussed earlier, players absolutely love tropes. So, in fact, players actually probably are going to be disappointed if their heist goes off without a hitch, because something should go wrong. Now, let me make this clear. Something should go wrong. They should be betrayed, ratted out, found out, or something, but it should go wrong in such a way that still allows them to have a chance to succeed. You'll notice the documents were still in Romulus's desk, and he swarmed in. They just had to escape. Their plan still worked. It was their escape plan that failed. The players still had the chance to succeed, so they didn't feel cheated. They didn't feel like it was just the GM screwing up their plan. So you're going to want to try and make a twist that is similar, because this is a very, very important part of your heist. And you are kind of going to have to outsmart your players. Your twist is going to be completely unique to your game, so I can't give you a direct answer on what your twist is going to be. It could be something they're going to take for granted. That's how I pulled it off, like Clancy finding the sword. Or maybe there really is a traitor and has been from square one. It's up to you. I personally only wrote one twist, but you should probably have more than one in case one of them gets found out. However, if they don't get found out, you're only going to go through with one of those twists. You're not going to have 3 twists. That's ridiculous. So, although you might consider having a twist like mine, as in the bad guys discover you and attack in overwhelming force after you've already got the MacGuffin, you could aim to have something very different as well. For example, you could say a thief steals the thing before you get it. And now you have to chase him down, or maybe he fully gets away with it, and then in the aftermath you have to figure out where he went, or maybe he had a mask on his face, and you think he might be one of you guys, but you don't know which person. Or maybe someone alerted a band of adventurers that thieves were going to steal this jewel, and now they're falsely attacking you instead of the bad guys. Or some form of trickery like that. Anything to throw a wrench in the plans, but still let them do it. And you want whatever went wrong, you want it to reek of foul play. Like, maybe someone ratted you out, or someone did this to you guys. Because that's going to be very important to build the tension in the aftermath. Because the aftermath session is going to be all about, all right, who's responsible for why things went wrong? So you want it to go wrong in such a way that it builds suspicion. So the players are actually going to be very aware that these kinds of things are going to happen. Most likely they've watched heist movies. They probably are fans of them. And so long as you mention it's a heist, they suspect, even if you don't tell them, oh yeah, someone's a rat, they suspect there's one. So the way to get around it, because they're going to be kind of hyper alert, and it's very possible that they're going to find all of your twists, you're going to need a red herring. I would really recommend making the players work with a group of NPCs, especially a group of NPCs that are strangers to them that they have never met before. For my group, I had them work with a group of resistance agents. But you're also going to want to make sure that this other group they're working with has something to hide. They should probably be innocent, but they still have something to hide. And that suspicion is going to make the players think, we can't trust these guys. And it actually works really well if that other party doesn't trust the players either, because now there's all that suspicion and then us versus them, even though we're on the same side, and that will keep the players so focused they're not going to notice your other twists. For my group, the group of resistance fighters they were working for was actually another group of Inquisition agents, and neither group knew the other was working for the Inquisition. And in fact, the Inquisitor, both Inquisitors were rival Inquisitors, so if they did know, they probably would have tried to stop each other anyways, or sabotage each other in some way. But even though they were hiding this, and there was this highly suspicious group of people working with them, that group of people weren't the ones who caused the mission to go wrong. But they thought they were. The entire time, they were suspicious. And that's the sort of thing you want. It's going to build the drama. It's going to give the players people to blame in the aftermath. And it's going to hide what's really going on until you're ready to reveal it. So as I said, you're not actually hiding much information in a heist adventure, but that 5% of the info the players don't know, that 5% that's behind the curtain, very important, because that is basically your twist and your misdirection for the twist. That's really all you're hiding. Everything else is known, I suppose, and random events, but you should not be doing a ton of those in this, because half the fun is gathering the info and everything. But we talked about that last time. So you have a twist, and you have your red herrings, and you have all your documentation and everything from last time, so now it's actually time to run the game. Congratulations, you worked unreasonably hard to build this adventure, but now comes the easy part. Since this really is a player-run arc, there's surprisingly little you need to do other than just react. If they say, I want to kidnap the guard captain's wife to force him to work for us, well, you should probably watch out for that player in the future, but you just do what they say, really. They are the ones who are managing the adventure, not you. They're saying, I want to go there, I want to do this, and you just kind of say, all right, we're there. Here's what's happening. It's a lot more passive for you. So the players will spend that first session gathering information. If it turns into 2 sessions, don't worry about it. They'll be running around, investigating weak points in security, infiltrating the targets, shaking down NPCs, and finally, eventually, creating a plan. Session 2 will be actually running the heist. They will be enacting whatever overcomplicated plan they made. And it's always overcomplicated, but that's part of the fun. Your moment to shine in that session is the twist. Everything else is just you're following basically the storyline they gave you. You're just running that storyline. And then you have the twist. And then you step back again, because now it's about people adapting to the twist. And then the last session is, of course, the aftermath. And the aftermath will be far more in your control than other stuff, or than the other sessions. That'll be a bit more of a tight-run narrative kind of thing, and it should go roughly the same in most adventures, so we'll talk about that one in depth in the next video. But I mean, in general, as you can see, this is very low effort for you. It's really going to be some of the easiest games you ever run, but it will, like, if you pull it off, even though it's so easy to run it, if you pull it off, your players will be like, oh man, you're a genius. Which, again, is kind of funny because they were the ones who wrote the story fundamentally. But they're going to think it was all you. So that's pretty cool. So, I mean, with that in mind, there's not really a comprehensive outline of stuff I can give you guys on how to run these kinds of things. But I can give you some tips from my game, and we can talk a little bit about things I did wrong that you guys should improve in, or things that I did that went better than expected. So the very first thing is you're just going to want to tell your players that it's a heist. I gave my players all the outline, all that kind of stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, you got to go get the documents. And they were like, all right, let me get my gun, let's go. I was like, no, as one of the NPCs, I was like, no, they've got a history for burning the documents if you're found out. They said, oh, okay, then we'll just attack tonight and we'll be sneaky. And I was like, no, coming up with all these excuses, and it went back and forth for a few minutes before I finally just said, guys, I'm giving you the opportunity to plan and take part in a heist. And their attitude completely changed. All of a sudden, they knew what was going on. They were excited. Their eyes lit up. I had them. They knew they were in a heist now. They knew how they should act. So just tell them. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time implying it's a heist. Just tell them it's a heist. Like, as soon as you give them their first piece of documentation, be like, all right, guys, it's a heist. I'm going to let you guys plan. Investigate anything you specifically want to look into. Sabotage what you need to sabotage, whatever. But, let them know right away. Next tip, as I said, just give them some handouts right at the beginning. As soon as you're ready to tell them they're taking part in a heist, give them some handouts. I gave them probably more info than I should have, but it didn't hurt the game at all. You'll want to give them at least some info in the beginning. They will have the opportunity to earn more information and find more of your handouts throughout this world you've crafted. But you do need to give them some info at the start, otherwise they're just going to flounder. If you say, hey, there's a building over there and you're going to heist something from it, they've kind of got like, where do we start? At most, they're going to be like, all right, stakeout. But give them somewhere to start, really. It's gonna save them a lot of time, effort, and it also lets you kind of direction your players towards content you have made instead of content they're just looking for. Like if they're like, oh yeah, what if we drop in from a hot air balloon? Now you suddenly have to make hot air balloons and stuff, so it's easier to just give them handouts with the stuff you have designed rather than have to design more stuff on the fly. So the next is just let the players talk. Take a back seat. You're usually used to talking for most of it, and you being the person who does the most talking. In this session, you should in all these sessions, you should probably be the person who's talking the least, honestly. you just let the players talk. As soon as they have everything, they're going to start planning. Go grab a drink, give them a few minutes to read. Once they have it, they're going to be discussing stuff with each other. Realistically, they're probably going to be spending a lot of the first hour just talking with each other. And don't interrupt, just listen in, take some notes, and have fun. And then last thing is take notes on your player's plan, honestly, because they are plotting out session 2 for you. All of the plot of session 2 minus the twist, they are just telling you. They are telling you the plot, so write it down at the end of the session. Make sure you've gone over it with your players. Say, from my understanding, since I have to run this next session, I want to make sure I have your plan completely right, and you recite back to them what you think their plan is. They will probably correct you on a few things, and that is good. And they might say, actually, now that you lay it out like that, maybe this one thing was dumb, and they can adjust that. And then at the start of the next session, at the start of the heist session, you're going to do it again. You're going to say, all right, before we start, this is your plan, am I right? And you're going to recite it all back. And this is partially going to remind the players of their plan, and if they had any ideas between weeks, they're going to bring it up now, and if there's anything that requires big adjustments, you just say, all right, give me 5 minutes just to make the changes, and it probably should only take about that long. And that should actually be just about everything. You basically have all the tools to run planning and running a heist. Some of you might decide you want to skip the aftermath, which I would advise against, because I think the aftermath is some of the best parts of a heist. But theoretically, you have everything you need to run a heist now. But yeah, so next time we're going to talk about how to run the aftermath session, and how to run it and what its actual purpose is. So guys, this was episode 3. I'm sure if you're still watching, you're not completely annoyed by me. So if you are interested in seeing more, then please subscribe and leave a comment down below with what kind of content you actually want me to make if this channel continues. Maybe I could keep making videos like this about how to run different genres of RPGs. I don't know. If you like that idea, tell me down below. Alright, so everyone, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.